The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter. Hello and welcome to Politics with GA. Chaos and confusion rocked the Akwa Ibom House of Assembly as the governor, Obanikoro, stormed the State House of Assembly while 5 sacked APC lawmakers met and commenced impeachment proceedings against the governor. The 5 lawmakers were the ones whose seats were recently declared vacant by the Speaker of the House, Mr. Onofiok Luke. The sacked lawmakers allegedly arrived early at the Assembly complex with thugs and heavily armed policemen and with a mace to commence the impeachment proceedings against the governor. It is said that they chased everyone out, manhandled the press secretary to the Speaker, Mr. Kufre Okon, and headed straight to the chambers. Governor Odom's arrival a few minutes later worsened the situation as there was a clash between his loyalists and the supporters of the 5 lawmakers. Pandemonium broke out as gunshots were fired by security personnel to scare people away. Assembly workers and other visitors who were present scurried to safety. The governor addressed journalists at the government house after assessing the situation at the State House of Assembly. He called for the redeployment of the state's newly posted Commissioner of Police, Mr. Musa Kimo, for partisanship. The situation has drawn the attention of the international community to the series of illegalities being perpetrated by some politicians in Nigeria. Still on Akwa Ibom State, Governor Obanikoro of Akwa Ibom State has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene in the Akwa Ibom House of Assembly crisis to ensure lasting peace in the state. The governor made this call at a news conference held in the government lodge in Uyo after the mayhem that rocked the State House of Assembly earlier. He asked that the president take the necessary actions to prevent similar happenings in the future. He said that the state will continue to remain peaceful in spite of the siege on the Akwa Ibom House of Assembly. Popular musician and founder of Amumu Don't Do, Mr. Charles Oputa, joined several other activists to call for a probe of the last governorship elections in Osun State. While reviewing the recently concluded elections held on 27th of September 2018, Mr. Oputa said Nigerians owe it a duty to the next generation to make sure elections reflect the true wishes of the people and that citizens rise up to resist electoral manipulations. He charged Nigerian youths to stand in defense of true democracy, selfless leadership, and natural justice, without which no country can truly progress. Other activists at the event identified lack of transparency, harassment of observers and journalists, failure of card readers and others as some of the incidents that flowed the exercise declared to have been won by the All Progressive Congress candidate, Mr. Gbenga Aborowa, who was sworn in as the new governor of Osun State yesterday. President Muhammadu Buhari said that aggrieved members of the All Progressive Congress, APC, have the right to seek recompense in court. The president's position is contrary to the position of the National Working Committee of the party that recently threatened to sanction members that dragged the party to court without exhausting all the party's internal mechanism. The party stated that it intends to activate constitutional provisions to penalize such members as their action is capable of undermining the party and hurt its interest. It advised that such members to withdraw all court cases while approaching the appropriate party organs with a view to resolving any outstanding dispute. However, the president, through a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Chief Femi Adesina in Abuja, insisted that any member of the party displeased with the mode of operation or feels deprived of his or her rights, such a person was free to seek redress from the courts. Mr. Donald Duke, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, has promised free tuition at all levels of education in the country, therefore bridging the gap between the rich and the poor. He promised to do this if elected president in 2019. Mr. Duke was represented by Mr. Precious Elekima, the governorship candidate of the party in Rivers State. He made the promise in Port Harcourt at the flag-off of the party's campaign for 2019 polls in Rivers State. Mr. Elekima also stated that undergraduate and postgraduate scholarships home and abroad will be offered. The Board of Governors will be inaugurated for all public primary and secondary schools in Rivers State. He also spoke concerning civil servants and said that the leader will extend the civil servants' retirement age to 45 years of service or 70 years of age mandatory. Retirement after 35 years of service or 60 years of age will be optional. He also stated that pensioners will be the first to be paid in the state. I caught up with Mr. Donald Duke a while ago at the sidelines of an event, and this is what he told me about why he wanted to be president of Nigeria.
I'm going to be selling my record, and each of us should sell his or her record. That's all I have to sell. Given the opportunity, I did this, this, and that. I don't intend to change that now. I intend to do it even on a larger scale. So fortunately, what I see, a number of aspirants who have come out have had some prior public service experience. Some don't have at all, but are reacting to those who have had and said, what do they do with it? I believe that I have, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to speak directly to the things that matter to them, right? We're in a skills acquisition workshop, and I have said over and over again in this workshop that having a skill, right, is a prerequisite to earning a living. And no one wants to be beggarly. Everyone wants to be able to fend for his or herself. And so those are the issues I've been talking about, getting our country working.
The British government has said that it's not supporting any candidates for the forthcoming 2019 elections in the country. The political advisor to the British Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Wale Adebajo, stated that the British government would always be neutral in Nigeria's bid to elect their leaders. The political advisor stated this in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, at a one-day dialogue program titled Enhancing Electoral Participation of People Living with Disabilities in the 2019 general elections, organized by the Foundation for Justice and Social Development. Mr. Adebajo commended the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for including people living with disabilities in a strategic plan for the 2017 to 2021 elections. According to him, the British government and the United States Department for International Development, USAID, are favorably disposed to the action. I spoke with Mr. Ibrahim Babajide Obanikoro, the APC candidate for Eti Osa Federal Constituency, about his plans for the people of Eti Osa and other issues. Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa, Mr. Ibrahim Babajide Obanikoro.
Thank you so much, Plus TV.
What's your take on the political scene as we inch towards the 2019 elections? How is it different from the last time you contested? Would you say Nigerians are more politically aware?
I believe Nigerians are more politically aware, and the huge difference from this time that I'm contesting and the last time that I contested is I switched parties from the PDP to the APC. So I switched from single-handedly running a campaign with my structure to a party where I would be joining my structure or collapsing my structure for the party structure. So it's a huge difference.
You mentioned you decamped. You're from a new generation of politicians ready to go, new crop of politicians. You contested a seat for the Lagos State House of Assembly under the PDP, and you rightly said you moved to the APC. Some will say you're playing the same politics of the old guard, moving from one party to the other. Why did you decide to decamp?
Okay. So unfortunately, the situation on ground as we have it today is that we don't have parties of ideology. We only have parties with interest. And today, as we speak, all the parties in Nigeria, we all have the same interest. Maybe when parties now start having division by ideology, maybe switching parties will be a bit more difficult then. But one of the reasons, or the major reasons why I switched parties is because I want to impact my nearest environment, and that is Eti Osa, as I currently find myself. I want to contribute my little quota to making sure that my neighbors are better off.
So it was more of a reality check, and you're being practical that, look, if I stay in this party, regardless of how much good intentions I have, I might not be able to fulfill that mandate. That's why you decamped.
It's part of the reasons why I decamped, yes.
Now, you're the APC candidate, and congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
You decamped, and then you got the ticket
Yes, thank
for
you.
the House of Reps seat. For what people would say, arguably one of the richest federal constituencies in Nigeria, if not the richest, what's your mission, and why do you want to represent the people of Eti Osa in the House of Representatives?
Just as we have the rich and high mighty here in Eti Osa, we also have the poor and the needy. And the poor and the needy are more in Eti Osa constituency 1. We are in constituency 2 at the moment, where all the development is, where all the infrastructures are up to date and of standard. But if you cross to the other side, you will see that despite the fact that Eti Osa contributes so much to the revenue of the state and the federation, the presence of the government is zero, close to nothing on that side of town. And here as well, we don't really have, we are our own government. Like in my house, my borehole provides me water. The private security company that I hired provides me security. You know, electricity, I power my gen to give my service. So in this particular side and every other side, we are our own government. There needs to be some form of change to that. And these are some of the things that we want to go and advocate for. Seeing as we are legislators, all we can do is make laws and advocate for a better environment and better standard of living for our people. And that is what I want to go and do there, to let them know that, look, Eti Osa contributes so much for both the state and the federal government. We need more attention.
And deserve better. What will be your focus areas if you get to Abuja? What do you think are the immediate needs of the people of Eti Osa local government?
Eti Osa is divided into 4 local governments, which is Iru-VI, Ikoyi Obalende, Eti Osa, and Eti Osa East. Now, these areas are all 4 different areas with 4 different specific needs. So that I cannot go there and tell you I'm going to get one thing for the whole of Eti Osa, because we have the elites here, you have the indigenous areas, you have the resettlement areas, and you have areas where midlife people are residing. So everybody's needs are peculiar. But one thing that I know that I will give the people of Eti Osa is a representation like never before. Like I keep telling them and I keep promising them, there's going to be a constituency office where everybody can come, meet with me, lay complaints.
You'll be accessible.
Yes, I will be.
No politicians say all sorts.
Yes, I will be accessible. Yes. I will be accessible.
The people of Eti Osa will hold you to account.
They can hold me accountable for my accessibility after the election. And also what we want to also do for Eti Osa, and I promise I will do this one within the next 4 years, there's going to be a public library where our people can come to and do research, read, whatever it is you want to make use of the library for, because we lack one at the moment. And another thing that we also want to look into is the issue of flood. our drainages. How do we take care of our drainages? The government has done so far. As citizens of Eti Osa, how do we take care of our drainages by ourselves? So I'm going to work hand in hand with the chairman, the local government chairman, to continuously educate our people on the need to make sure that our drainages are free and clear from all blockages that we ourselves create, sachets of pure water, bottled water cans, and what have you not. All these things come together and clog our drainages.
Fantastic. You do have great plans for the people of Eti Osa, but when you go to the House of Representatives, you're one of 359 other reps. How would you, and they've also made promises to the people, and everyone will be jostling to make sure they get all the benefits for their constituents. What strategies do you have in galvanizing support if, for example, your party does not have majority in the House of Representatives, in the event that they don't have a majority?
Whether we have majority or we don't have majority, my ability to negotiate, my ability to dialogue would come into play. And some of the things that I want to use to assist myself would be, for example, population of Eti Osa. Eti Osa used to be in the hundreds of thousands before, which was not a problem. But today, we have arguably over 2-3 million people residing in Eti Osa. I think we're in a situation where you have that many people in one area. That area deserves attention. And it's not just an area, it's an area that also contributes so much to the GDP of the nation and our dear state, Lagos State. So these are some of the things that I'm going to package and take to the House and let the leaders of the House know that we need attention here in Eti Osa.
Eti Osa local government has been described as the Bangkok of Lagos or Nigeria, if I may say so. It's a hospitality hub, so many fine restaurants, hotels, bars. I've lived here for the past 6-7 years. What plans do you have to attract tourism? Because it's a major revenue earner for countries like Rwanda, in South Africa, everywhere in the world. And the potential is there. You have a fine beachfront.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things I also want to do is come up with a bill that will make our shorelines be more valuable to us than as we speak. Maximize the potentials of our shorelines. If you go to Miami, California, they're proud of their shorelines, and you can see it when you go there. So we want to do the same thing here. I'm going to write a proposal and a bill to the House, a proposal to the Federal Executive Arm of Government, so that tourism in Nigeria can be boosted. And the beauty of all this hospitality we have here in the hotels would be more appreciated. So we have plans to shed more light to the executive arm of government to make sure that we take advantage of the shorelines. And one of the major things that I also want to advocate for is that we need the executive arm of government to create wave breakers. When you create wave breakers, it would help reduce the amount of water surge we get, and then it will also help reduce the flood we get whenever it rains. And it will also help in beautifying our coastal lands. So these are some of the things I want to fight for, advocate for, and I hope that within the next 4 years, we'll see a difference.
Fantastic. You're a young Nigerian, and you didn't come out into politics because of the young, not too young to run bill. You've been there. You're a young veteran, if I may use that word. Now, youths make up a huge percentage of Nigeria's population,
yes.
And they're the ones that will deal with the consequences and decisions that politicians make. Why aren't young people interested in politics? What drove you into politics?
Well, I'm happy today that we have more youths that have shown interest, be it directly or indirectly in politics, compared to when I started about 7 or 8 years ago in 2011 when I started running for office. I think it's a beautiful thing, and because we are more, we take, life is all about risk. I believe we take more risk, and if you don't take any risk, you wouldn't know the positives and negatives of your idea. So if we have more youth in the system, I believe because like you rightly said, Nigeria's population, the youths are the most, make up the percentage of our population. So if majority of us are in the government, we can best address the issues that we are facing, seeing as we relate with ourselves better than we do relate with our parents, older generation. So I think we need more of us in the system, and we'll keep pushing and working for that.
Now, Eti Osa Federal Constituency is one of the hotly contested seats, and lots of political observers will be watching to see what happens. And for good reasons, it's very rich, it's vibrant, it has a lot of potential, and so many other people have shown interest in the same seat you're going for. Are you open to having a debate with your fellow contestants?
I've always been open to having debate. Like I believe we all have good intentions. Let's all come and table our intentions and let the electorates decide within themselves who they think has the best intentions for the position. So I'm open for any debate between myself and the other candidates of other parties. I'm always open for it.
Now, finally, before we go, a lot of people, the opposition People's Democratic Party, has said they're not yet confident in INEC being an unbiased umpire in these elections. Last time out, when you contested for the Lagos State House of Assembly, people said you actually won, but the results didn't reflect that. But that's a thing of the past. Do you have confidence in INEC doing a good job in being an unbiased umpire as you head to the polls in 2019?
Well, I believe nobody is perfect. Every person, system, machine has his or her own or its own flaws. So yes, INEC is not perfect. I've been a victim of INEC flaw before, but some people have benefited from INEC being an unbiased umpire. The president of Nigeria today, the election was conducted by INEC, and I believe that
and it was in the opposition.
And it was in the opposition, and today is in the mainstream party. So I have confidence in INEC. I believe that I've met some of their officials in our local government, and they are fine and gentle ladies and men. So I believe and I trust in INEC to a very large extent, and everybody should not worry themselves about INEC. Worry yourselves about getting your voters out there to vote, and leave INEC to do their job, just as I'm doing.
Mr. Ibrahim, Babajide, Obanikoro, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now to some foreign news. Zimbabwe's main opposition candidate, Mr. Nelson Chamisa, has stated that he did not incite supporters to take to the streets in post-election violence that killed 6 people in August. He said this at the Commission of Inquiry. It will be remembered that Nelson Chamisa lost the July 30 poll to President Emerson Mnangagwa in the first election after Mr. Robert Mugabe was forced to resign following a coup in November 2017. This led to the destruction of several lives and properties parties. Mr. Chamisa lost the legal challenge to the election results but still maintains the vote was rigged and that Mr. Nangagwa lacks legitimacy. Mr. Chamisa said his party had not called for the protests and the demonstrations could have been hijacked by the ruling party to smear his party. Ethiopia's newly appointed Elections Board Chief, Mrs. Bertukan Mideksa, has pledged to make the board's work transparent and trustworthy. Mrs. Mideksa, whose nomination by the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was approved by the country's parliament, called on the media to support the board as it takes on the task of organizing credible elections for the country. She is one of the women with top positions in Ethiopia after Saleh Work was named president, as Mr. Abiy Ahmed chose women to fill half of his cabinet positions last month. And that concludes Politics with GA for today. Thanks for watching. I am Gbenga Aborowa. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter.